Hey Tekken players, hope you're doing well. So, patch 105 has dropped. Is this the end of King? Is King hella dead? Has King been dead and buried to the ground and everyone's going to drop him? Well, I'm going to share my thoughts and let you know. But first, if you're new to the channel, hi there, my name is Beige Master and my channel caters to sort of new and upcoming players. So to make this very clear, I am very average at best. Okay, so this isn't going to be for your super high level, you know, you're going to be going to Evo next weekend level tech. I'm talking for the vast majority of real world players, okay? If you want to see the high level stuff, then I highly recommend you go and watch the likes of Lil Margin or No Doubt. Jess Andy will do a guide on this. But I'm talking for your average, average player. So just wanted to get that out there before I continue. So what we're going to talk about in this, I want to talk about the lack of tracking now for throws, which is probably the biggest change. Also going to quickly mention some of the power crush changes because that is fairly significant. And then finally, we're going to talk about the sort of King's new Wavy Beast Step. Okay, also just to mention that this is all just done basically on some labbing that I've done. So I haven't played any matches yet. I haven't played ranked or anything. So this is just early stuff, and no doubt we'll find more as we go along. Okay, so let's talk about the elephant in the room. And by the way, just as you can see, I've got Lili here. Why have I got Lili? Because she's probably got the best sidestep in the game. So if she can't step something, then no one else can. Okay, right. So let's talk about the elephant in the room. This. As you can see, no tracking now. This is true for all of King's command throws. His regular throws still track. You can see because there's the little blue animation that indicates it's tracking properties. Okay, so does this mean King is now dead and all you have to do just sidestep right, bro, and he can't do anything? It's not quite that simple, and I'm going to break it down, to you. So, because interestingly, despite the fact that tracking has now gone, not all tracking has been treated equally. There's some nuances here. So, let's go into it in some more detail. So, as a very general rule of thumb, okay, the general rule of thumb is if you have plus 7 to 8 frames in your favor, then you basically can't sidestep anything, okay, because you don't have enough frames to sidestep. So that's a very general rule of thumb. So that's why this is important. Notice this is plus 7 on hit. Sorry, on block, sorry. So if you're quick, not that I can do it now. There you go. If you're quick enough, she can't step. But like I say, you do have to buffer this. There we go. You have to buffer it to get it out to come out as soon as possible. Because if you're frame too slow, she will step you. But that's the general rule, okay? So if you've got 7 to 8 frames in your favor, then all the throws are still tracking, okay? But like I said, you do have to buffer this and get it to come out. There we go. Frame perfect. And as you saw there, it's not all the same in all situations. So that's the first one to point out. So this is why now, if you notice, this Justice Nipples is plus 3 on block. Okay, so watch this. See, this is no longer a guaranteed throw setup. See, so you will have to adapt. Okay, so that's the very general rule of thumb. Okay, if you have plus 8, you're good. Or plus 7. If you're under that, it's a little bit more nuanced. This is also important for, if I just get Lili to stop blocking for a moment. This is very important for his 10 frame punish because both 1-2 and 2-1 give you plus 8. So this means this is still a viable throw mix up. They can't step it. They can still duck obviously, but oops. Can't step this, so that's important, and we'll get to this later. So let's put it back into blocking. Okay, so that's important to note. However, there are some nuances. It's not just a case of if you've got less than 7 or 8 frames, then you're going to be able to have all your throws stepped. Not all throws are created equally. Okay, and this is from the initial testing I've done, but the TLDR is Giant Swing and Muscle Buster actually have a bit more tracking than the two throws. And the long story short is, if you've still got +5 frames, if you use either of those two throws, then they can't be stepped. Why is +5 important? This is why. 4-4 neutral 2, it's been nerfed. It's now +5 on hit. It used to be +7, I believe. However, this is important because, as you can now see, again, you have to be frame perfect now. Can't step. Can't step this. Whoops. Can't step this. However, can step this. See? So your two throws are now steppable after 4-4 neutral 2. However, your giant swing, if you're quick enough, can't be stepped. Muscle buster can't be stepped. Again, you have to be quick. That's really, really important. And why is that really important? Well, as I say, 4-4 neutral 2 is still one of your go-to, lows. The other reason why it's important is because, if I just scared to stop ducking. Note the frames on your back 1-2 punish. +5. So again, still can't step this. Or this. Well, that being said, the muscle buster range isn't as good. So it's very hard to get muscle buster out quickly enough. But anyway, you just have to trust me on this, guys. I have tested it. There we go. So if you land, if that's your punish, let's say you punish a hop kick, this is still a viable throw mix-up. They can't step it. But again, if you try to go for a 2 throw, see? Now they can. That's a generic one. That's why she's working. But anyway, so trust me on this. So the summary is, if you've got +5 frames, which as I mentioned, that or that, they both give you +5. Your 1+2 kind of break mixer by your giant swing and your muscle buster, they can't be stepped. So that is still legit in terms of a throw mix-up. So that's pretty important to know. Now, in terms of the ISW, it's a little bit tricky to tell because basically because you have the forward inputs afterwards, you're sort of closing in the gap. So sometimes it whiffs and sometimes it doesn't, and it's basically it's kind of a bit tricky to test in this environment because obviously even if they do step, if you take enough time to do the move like that, see, she actually stepped it and then I just landed it after she finished stepping, so it's a bit hard to tell whether you've really sort of, see, it's hard to tell whether you've really landed it or not, but generally speaking I think it whiffs. See, from what I can tell, you don't have enough frames in your favour. But maybe if you're super fast you might be able to, but it's hard to tell in this environment because like I said, sometimes you'll finish stepping so you'll think you've landed it but actually you haven't. But generally speaking, ISW doesn't seem to be a legit option anymore when you're at +5. At +8 you should be okay. But anyway, so that's the long and short of it. So in summary, if you've got about +7 to 8 frames, all your throws will still track. If you've only got +5, you're now kind of restricted to either you have muscle buster. If I can actually land the damn thing. There we go. You have muscle buster, you have giant swing, and you also have the Irish whip. That'll also work. Can't step that either. If you notice, that's actually got homing properties on it. See the green, the blue line. See, so that's still tracking anyway. And also to note, as I mentioned, they can't backdash muscle buster either. So that's it in a nutshell in terms of your throw mix-ups now with that nerf. So unfortunately, the two throws are a lot weaker now, which is a shame because the Tijuana Twister still gives great damage on Oki. It's one of his best. It's actually one of his best throws. It's better than Tombstone now. But yeah, but for tracking, it's no good. Okay, so we discussed that. So now I just want to quickly talk about the Power Crush and the changes there. So basically, the big change is King now takes longer to recover. Okay, so what does this mean? Well, let me show you. We go for this classic. No, you can't do it anymore. Mid kicks will beat it because look, you take too long to recover, so you're going to get that setup is now gone. It's also true for this. See, you don't have enough frames. Now, it doesn't mean to say that this is now bad, Oki. You still have options. So, for example, the obvious one would be let them whiff it. Got a backdash, obviously. There you go. So you still got that. If you've got a hard read, they're going to mash. That's one option. Another option, which is really cheeky, is just do this. See, you still have enough frames to land another one if you got the hard read. And that's also true for the other Power Crusher. Timing's harder. See. So that's just to mention in terms of Power Crush change. So that unfortunately this setup is now dead because if they mash anything, you're gonna lose. It also means you don't get the free alley kick anymore. See, because it's the fact is they've changed it so King takes longer to recover. So that's it in terms of the Power Crush stuff. Just checking my notes. Okay, so I'm just going to swap out our dear Lydia. Lydia, we haven't got Lydia yet. Lili for someone else, so just give me one moment. Because there is something I was quite nervous about, but actually we're okay, we're good. And that is, I wasn't sure whether the down forward 2-1 combo would work anymore because of the tracking that had been gone from Shining Wizard. However, I can report it does still work. Now, I might not be able to land it because classic case of live recording, but trust me, this does work. There you go. See, so that's good. That's still there. That's still a thing. Again, important to note because I was so worried that once we knew that the tracking properties had gone on the Shining Wizard, that because you're so off axis when you have to land that combo that it wouldn't land anymore, but it does. So that's good. We still have this. And also something to note, while we're on the subject of down forward 2. So let me just get Kaz to block a moment. Because now your throws may whiff if they try to step you. See, like that. Important to note that down forward 2 does still track to his weak side. Oh, hang on. Which way is he stepping? Oh, he's stepping right. He shouldn't be able to do this then. Oh, okay, that's interesting. So you do have to... So... Okay, well, I got that wrong then. When I tested it earlier, I thought this would work. So, yeah, so down forward 2... Still not gonna... It's not gonna track them to his weak side. So... You're kind of like, you're sort of limited now in terms of what you can use to check with in terms of if they're stepping, because say throw's no good. So you're limited to this, which is forward 4 or forward 1. Now we'll get into these a little bit later. Forward 1 is slower, but if you look at, I think it's a much better reward on hit because you're at plus 14, which is crazy. But if you look at the frames. See, you're at plus 14, or Kaz is at minus 14, whichever way you look at it. So throws are completely uninterruptible. Whereas this, you get a knockdown, but that's it. I personally would rather take the throw mix up personally. But anyway, so you're gonna have to your neutral game. You know, throws are no longer going to be your option to try and catch people if they're stepping. Although, of course, now they're all working. See, there we go. And down forward 2 is not going to check him either. Down forward 4, not working. Ah, down forward 3 does though. Okay, so here you go. This is your mid check. Down forward 3. That'll still catch him. Although obviously no scary follow-ups or anything, but just a little check. Make sure they're not trying to wander off. Okay, so since we got Kazuya out, let's talk about the other big change, which is the King Waivu. I need to swap sides because my wave dash is already terrible, but on player 1 it's non-existent. On player 2 it's slightly better. Okay, so if you are a Legacy Armor King player, then you boys and girls are in for a treat, because if you've got those Legacy Armor King wave dash skills, then you're going to love this. So as you can see, King now has a Mishima style wave dash. Mine is rubbish. I need to practice. But he now has this. Okay, this is really good because I've already mentioned that he's now weaker to stepping. But the great thing about wave dashes, and why Mishima players love to spam them, it's not because they just think it looks cool, although it does. It's because it realigns. So if you watch this, for example, if I just get Kazuya to sidewalk me, okay, off he goes. Yes, that will do fine. Thank you. Oops. Come on, can't press 2 buttons together. Okay, I need to practice this, as you can see. Come on, do it for me again. There you see, if you've got a clean wave dash, which I don't really, but you'll notice that it realigns. So that's why wave dash is important, okay? And that's why it was so vital for Armor King. So a wave dash will stop that now, Kaz. So wave dashes are important for realigning if they do start to walk. So in terms of what King can do for a wave dash, now I haven't practiced this in a long time, but I'm going to put a link to Armor King's video as Armor King YouTuber. He's done a really good demo of basically you can wave dash into all of King's regular throws, including blue spark versions. But your execution does have to be on point, but you can do this. It's quite easy to do it into into a Shining Wizard because of the, there you go, because basically you can sort of just cheat and just do a couple of wavus into a run. So that's fairly easy. Doing it into a giant swing is much harder. So I'm not going to try because I'm not warmed up. Go and watch his video, he will show you. So I'm going to show you some more very, very basic kind of mix-up options in terms of what you want to do from the wave dash options. So you still have the throws, obviously. Hang on. As I mentioned, my wave dash is rubbish and I'm not warmed up. There you go. So you still have his crouch dash throws, which you can now do for multiple wavus. There we go. Okay, so these are your kind of like your highs. So you need some mids now in case they want to start ducking. So your options are, and I think this is actually really, really good. Your mid checks are, if you want to stay relatively safe, forward 1 is really good. As we discussed, because that's mid, it's also homing. So if your wave dash is like mine rubbish, even if they're sidewalking, that will catch them. And it's plus 14 on hit. So you've got loads and loads of time. Loads and loads of time to do a throw. And they're never going to be able to step it, basically. So that's really good. If you want to be a bit more risky, you can still do while standing 1+2 from a wavu. Hang on. There you go. That still works. But that is -10. As you can see, I'm going to keep saying this, I've not practiced this. I'm not a Legacy Armor King player, but trust me, these can all be accessed from your wave dash with a bit of practice. There we go. So that's another mid check. You can also do, this is a really interesting one, if you've really, really conditioned them to stay still, so they're not walking at all, then you can do forward 2 from a wave dash. If I can get him to do it, come on King. There we go. So again, that's accessible, and that's really good because as we mentioned at the start, No, I'm not going to be able to do it now. You're just going to have to trust me on this, boys. Like I said, I'm not warmed up. There we go. So you can do it, trust me. So that's really, really good because, as I mentioned, that is +8 on block now. So that is your setup for a throw attempt. And obviously on hit, it's guaranteed crouch throw. But it's still pretty linear, so I suspect... if I can actually get him to do it properly. Yeah, see? So if they're really committed, that's still going to whiff. Yep. See? So if they're really, really committed, you're going to be better off using this. Because that will stop them. So, please stop, Kaz. So that's kind of your various options. You also have while standing 4. Safe mid-check. And you have the various kind of... You still have things like the black bomb. And as I said, you still have his... if I can get him to land it. Yeah, you still have his crouch throws. So that's kind of like the King Wavy. I've not, as you can see, and I keep saying I've not practiced enough. I'm really looking forward to this though, because I did play Armor King a bit in Tekken 7, and I do have a pocket Kaz. My wave dash, as you can see, is utterly rubbish. But now I've got a reason to practice. So I am looking forward to it. But yeah, so that's more or less it in a nutshell. So in conclusion, do I think King is absolutely hella dead? No, he's not. He's still really strong. You've just got to be a little bit more smart about your options. So I'm afraid you can't just spamming throws in the neutral. You're gonna have to be more clever about it. You know, trying to do stuff like classic, you know, jab into giant swing. Just smart players gonna step that all day long. But as I said, things like this, they're still viable. This is still a viable throw setup. So you just got to be a bit more intelligent about it. And like I said, I really need to practice it, but I genuinely think the wavy stuff is going to be really, really fun. Especially I think after knockdowns. It's going to be just, you know, it's going to really sort of add to King's game plan. So I'm super looking forward to that, but I do need to, as you can see, my wave view is rubbish. I do need to work on it. And hopefully, once I've got a little bit better, I'll make a guide on it for pad players in particular. Okay, so hope it helps you guys. That's my summary. Looking forward to finding out the new King tech and all the rest of it. Please subscribe if you want, so don't miss out on that. And I look forward to seeing you in the next one.